Over the past several weeks, we've been talking about on channel how the DVE, or domestic violent extremist, is actually a targeting of conservatives in the country. And we've looked around at different examples at how this is happening. One of the ways that I'm starting to see this happening is in the Catholic Church. Now, I'm not going to get into the Catholic Church right now. We haven't really touched on that subject since I covered the nativity scene that they did with the Nephilim in it last Christmas. But this guy's name is Dr. Taylor Marshall. He covers traditional Catholicism, and there is a growing wing in the Catholic Church that wishes to go back to the traditional church. And they are not very approving of the direction in which the Catholic Church has moved in the past few years, which has been decidedly left towards Marxism, with a full embrace of all of the things that we are seeing rot our society here in America, and the things that we are starting to awaken to and fight against. They've all been promoted fervently by the Catholic Church under Pope Francis ever since Vatican II. But like I said, we're not going to really get into this hard, but what I really want you to understand is something completely unrelated to us tracking conservatives being targeted. Now listen to what he says about what he's noticing in the Catholic Church.
My concern is we've seen in the last 35 days, I counted them, a response to traditional Catholicism. On January 30th, 2021, Francis had his big statement on the Vatican II is the magisterium.
Okay, so he's noticed that there's been a clamping down on traditionalists inside the Catholic Church, and he's noticed that it's been coordinated, and he's saying that it started sometime around January 30th to him. Now, we also know that it started here on January 6th, and then we know directly after that, sometime in the middle to the late January, the military and the Pentagon did the stand down, where they made soldiers go to these education classes. They relieved some soldiers who were in D.C., and really importantly, some generals in the Pentagon all got together and targeted Tucker Carlson. Remember that? Okay, so it seems an awful lot like the military in the U.S. got a similar type of memo that all the cardinals in the Catholic Church got, and it's all happening around January. This targeting of conservative values.
And if you're not with it, you don't stand with the church. Sort of his first quasi-anathema. On February 4th, 2021, Massimo Fagioli, God bless him, he wrote an article, Francis and the Traditionalists, highlighting this new problem in the church and the firmness, Massimo calls it the firmness in defense of Vatican II. We got to double down, get rigid, let's firmly defend Vatican II. February 27th, Francis said that he expects to die as Pope, listen to this, either in office or emeritus. This is showing this slippery new understanding of what the Pope is, what the papacy is, that he will still be Pope either in office, in munus, or emeritus, and in Rome, and he will not go back to Argentina. From what I've heard, they don't want him back in Argentina. He's not popular in Argentina. And here's just an excerpt of what Bishop Barron said yesterday. He says, quote, in recent years, a fiercely traditionalist movement has emerged within American Catholicism.
Now, the huge thing is that this bishop is already just calling it out. This is happening in American Catholicism. Now, if you're talking about fiercely traditionalist Catholics in America only, who are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
At home, particularly in the social media space. Bishop Barron goes on to say, quote, it has come about partly as a reaction to the beige Catholicism that I have criticized, but its ferocity is due to the scandals that have shaken the church the past 30 years, especially the McCarrick situation. In their anger and frustration, some of it is justified. These arch-traditionalist Catholics have become nostalgic.
Do you see what he's recognizing here? He's recognizing here the audacity of this man referring to people like him and him as with this kind of agitated vernacular. It's combative, and it's describing people who wish to return to traditional values as, bigots, racists, backwards people, destroying our institutions. And he knows that that's not true, so it's an irritating thing for him to even have to read. It's the same thing that happens to me when I'm reading these nonsense executive orders about domestic violent extremists.
The church of the pre-conciliar period, and antipathetic towards the Second Vatican Council itself. Pope John the 23rd, Pope Paul VI, Pope John Paul II, Pope Benedict XVI, and particularly our present Father. The supreme irony, Bishop Barron says, of course, is that these radically traditionalist Catholics, in their resistance to the authority of the Pope and their denial of the legitimacy of an ecumenical council, which Paul VI said was not extraordinary in dogma or infallible, Barron continues, have risked stepping outside the confines of the church. Theirs is not a beige Catholicism, to be sure, but it is indeed a self-devouring Catholicism. Perhaps sensing this contradiction, they remain spitting mad at anyone who would dare challenge them, end quote, Bishop Barron. Now, I would say to Bishop Barron, you got the color wrong. It's not beige Catholicism, like bleh. It's not beige Catholicism, it's lavender Catholicism. It's rainbow Catholicism in the secular sense, not in the biblical sense. It's not beige, it's lavender. Everybody got that? Now, why is it that in the last 35 days, we've had statements, multiple statements by Pope Francis on traditionalists? We've got Commonwealth, Massimo, talking about traditionalists. We got Bishop Barron talking about these darn traditionalists. And then we've got Benedict XVI coming out talking about these darn traditionalists. What is going on? I don't know the answer. Feels like a memo went out. There's some kind of TPS report that went out and said, hey, these mean, self-devouring, angry, belligerent traditionalists are growing.
Dr. Taylor Marshall is exactly right. There is a memorandum that went out inside of the church. A version of this memorandum went to all of the heads of CEOs, all of the heads of banks, all of the heads of the church, all of the heads of politics. This same memorandum went to the Pentagon and had Pentagon generals targeting Tucker Carlson. Something went out in January to basically every head institution that runs our reality. And it's all targeting this traditionalist, conservative, free-thinking, quote, right side of the political spectrum in America. What we're watching in the Catholic Church is the Great Catholic Reset. It's the same thing we're watching all across the world. It's the Great Reset. And it's here. We'll keep an eye on it, guys. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Love y'all. Talk to you next time. Peace.